and I had never seen like, famous person before. And we're going to these like after MTV Award show parties. And I'm like, oh my God, there's blah, blah, blah. And there's, like Timberlake and Britney are like dancing on the floor right there. And I'm just, this kid from Flower Mound, Texas, like my mind blown.
Cool. Well, I'm Adam, and this is about you and your journey in music, and we'll talk about the new record, which is awesome. I love the song.
Oh, dude, thank
It's a bop. Yeah, I like it.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. So we start off with, where were you born and raised? I mean, I was from San Diego, but you're from what, Dallas, Texas area,
I'm from
Dallas area?
Texas. Yeah, I'm from like a little town called Flower Mound, about 45
Okay.
minutes outside Dallas. And then I moved to LA like in right around like 2000, 2001.
Okay.
So like 20 years ago. So then
Uh,
did the LA thing, and then now we're kind of bi-coastal. Me and my wife go back and forth from LA to Florida.
oh, cool. Cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
I saw a photo. I think it was you and Ryan Key, and your wives are both pregnant.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Dude, it's
cool.
crazy. Me and Ryan used to live together. And like if you would have told me and Ryan, like, back in the day where, we were obviously both single and, lead singers of bands and,
Sure.
going out all the time. We were like, dude, we're gonna have babies at the same time. His due date is like a week after ours.
Oh, that's
So
awesome.
we've already talked about his son and our daughter getting married so that way we could all just be family. But for real, like we could really be family. Like
Yeah,
we could be each other family, but now we can be
we
like
could
legally
totally be
family.
in-laws.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So what was it
Yeah.
like growing up in Texas before moving, obviously, to LA?
I mean, at that time, like Texas, Dallas wasn't really like what it is now. Like Dallas has grown so much. Like even
Oh
from where
yeah.
I'm from, like that tiny little town. I went back to do a concert maybe like 6 years ago or so, and didn't even recognize it because I hadn't been back since. And I was like, oh my God. So I wanted to do a show there. I was like, I want to go to like my actual like town where I was born, this small little town, and come back. And so that was a blast. Just blew my mind seeing what was on over there. Here, hold on. Let me decline. Sorry, my dad's calling me. Did I lose you?
No, 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 I'm here. If you need to answer your dad,
Okay.
that's all good.
No, 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 no. It's okay. He's probably calling me about Costco membership. Wait, hold on. How do I get back to our? There you are. There you go. Yeah, speaking, yeah, Texas. So it was cool going back and seeing how different it was, but now it's like booming restaurants, everything. The music scene, though, growing up for me was actually surprisingly really good in Dallas and Austin, which was like a 3 hour drive.
Yeah.
So I kind of got my start just like driving to Austin every weekend, playing literally any place that I could. And like even some of like my heroes like in the music scene when I was trying to make it was like Bowling for Soup I loved, and
Oh
now
yeah. Like Denton area,
we're
right?
we're all like, yeah, really good friends. So it's cool to see like the scene that when I was growing up like still out there. And I just saw them at when we were Young Festival last weekend.
Oh,
So like,
cool.
dude, that's Dallas cats are still going.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I've had Jared on my show before. He's great.
Oh, yeah, he's the best.
Yeah. Well, how did you start in music? Like, did you take piano lessons? Is anyone else a musician or creative in
I
your
mean, I
household?
took I took piano lessons when I was like 4 years old, but like most kids, I got tired of it. Never really turned into anything. When I was in high school, like I didn't really play anything. I just pretended that I did. Like me and my buddies would just tell girls that we were in a band. Yet I didn't play guitar, drums yet. But then my brother got a drum. I don't know, for Christmas maybe, and so we both kind of just jammed on that. And then he really liked playing the drums, so he's like, "All right, well you need to learn to play guitar so you could be the singer. We could have a band." And I'm like, "Well, I don't play guitar and I don't sing, but let's try it." So I picked up the guitar and just started singing. I wasn't very good, but just kept at it, and then eventually he. So I started my own band, which we were absolutely awful. It was it was pretty terrible. We thought we were amazing, but we weren't. But my brother was like, "Dude, you guys got to get in the studio for your birthday. I'm going to get you some studio time." And then he realized how much it would cost to record the band in the studio, and it was too much for what he could afford. So he was like, "All right, I got you studio time, but I can only afford just you." So that was the first time I went in and just kind of recorded a couple songs acoustic, just
Hmm.
me and the acoustic guitar. And the engineer was like, "Dude, I think you got something special. Like, I want to record you." And I'm like, well, this is all we could afford. It was a gift for my brother. He's like, no, I'll record you for free. So my first like album was like a little indie album. Obviously, that was just an acoustic album called Elm Street.
Uh-huh.
He recorded me for free. I did that whole thing just based off the engineer being like, I record a lot of cats here, and like I don't really enjoy it. Like it's great to get paid and all, but like I actually enjoyed recording you, so keep coming back and I'll record you for free. And so that's how I made my first thing, and then that led me to doing a couple showcases, and then literally when I'm playing in the Hard Rock Cafe doing a showcase, and Joe Simpson was in the audience, who was Jessica Simpson's dad and Ashley's
Yeah.
dad. He saw me play and he was like, all right, you're gonna move to LA. And I'm like, huh? He's like, you're gonna move to California. I need you in LA. I'm gonna make you a star. Like that, like in the movies, got these like, you're a star, kid. I'm gonna make you a star. And I'm like, all right. I was like, I'll
Oh
come
my
live with
gosh.
you. So literally 2 days later, I just packed a bag. I remember just having a pair of flip flops. I didn't even have a pair of shoes, and was on a flight to Los Angeles. Moved in with the Simpson family in Encino, and then just started, writing songs and auditioning for record labels and stuff. And but I mean, I paid my dues. I'd been, grinding it out for years and years and years, playing every, I played Mexican restaurants for two people. I played every dingy bar in Austin that there, was, and then just kind of got lucky one night. He saw me play and just kind of believed in me.
Wow. Well, going back real quick. So is your brother, is he older or younger than you? I'm just curious when it
He's
comes to
4 years older.
he's 4 years older. Okay. So when he
Yeah.
got the drum set and you guys were jamming together,
When I say he forced me to be the singer, guitar player, like he was 4 years older than me. Like I didn't have a choice. He's like,
yeah, literally he's like,
"You
you
either gonna
are
do
gonna
it
do this.
or I'm gonna whoop your ass." So I was like, all right, I guess I'm the singer.
So you were in high school at this point when
Yeah.
this is happening? Okay. And
Yeah.
then once you joined this band or were in the band that he wanted to pay to record,
Yeah.
like how quickly were you writing your own songs? Were you guys writing originals or were you doing like
I
covers?
was sure. If you go back and find tapes of Rubik's Groove, um, we I didn't actually write lyrics. So I had the names for the songs and I had basic like ideas, but I made the lyrics up every night. So every time, if you ever go, like if you find live tapes, or people have found them in the past, be like, it's weird because this version, in Little Rock was different than the version in Austin. I'm like, because I didn't have lyrics. I don't
Oh,
know
you just
why, but I
make it
just
up as you went
made
along?
it up, made it up every night. So I would have the basic idea, like a chorus. I would have the chorus pretty much mapped out, and then the verses were just all gibberish.
Oh my gosh. And with what became the Elm Street EP or album, were
Yeah.
those a lot of those songs that you were like, okay, well now I got to figure
I
out
was, yeah, yeah. I'm
the
in the studio,
lyrics.
like shit. I need to write some. Most of them don't make any sense. At that time, I just, I was like, I thought I was a songwriter, but I, really wasn't. If I go back, and it was funny because there's a couple songs that like the real old school cats, that if like really know your catalog, will be like, dude, that one song, like my friend John, that got me through this and this. I'm like, that song wasn't about anything. Like it was
It
just,
wasn't about your friend John.
no, I didn't even have a friend John at the time. Like
Wow.
I was making stuff up. But it is kind of cool that the one beautiful thing that I've learned over time about lyrics is that whatever it means to you is that. So if that somehow meant something to him, even though for me it wasn't about anything, uh, then sweet, that's the power of music, and that's what's beautiful about interpretations of songs. It's like, oh, this song has to be about this song's about this. It's like, hey, it's whatever you want it to be about, and if it means something to you, then sweet.
Yeah.
But
I
yeah,
mean,
at the
but
time I didn't have
I was
shit.
but that says something about obviously your skill as a songwriter, even when you put that out. I mean, to be able to write a song or write lyrics that you're like, whatever, this doesn't mean anything to me, to like have it
Yeah,
resonate with someone else.
yeah.
Obviously you
It kind of sounded like it was deep, deeper than.
right, yeah.
But
But
then,
that's
like when I started writing for like the Take It All Away, like my first actual album,
mhm.
so when I started, I learned from a lot of people. I worked with a lot of people that I looked up to, and kind of at that point started to own, my craft and who I wanted to be. That was like to find an identity, because at the beginning I was just like copying Dave Matthews. Anything Dave Matthews did, I was like, I'm gonna do that.
Okay.
And that's,
Yeah.
I think probably happens for a lot of people in the beginning
Oh
is,
yeah.
they know who they love, and they just kind of do their own version of what that artist that they look up to is, and then eventually, hopefully along the way, you find your own identity, and don't need to copy anybody anymore.
Yeah, I was talking to another artist about this pretty recently. It's just like, yeah, finding your own voice is like one of the hardest things to do. Like, just be yourself. I mean, I was
Yeah,
on terrestrial radio in San Diego and in San Francisco for a lot of years, and it was the hardest thing would be like, just be yourself. And I'm like, and I'm just trying to emulate other DJs and stuff
right.
that I liked growing up
Yeah,
until
here's
you
what I
could,
think I
yeah,
sound like.
you it'll click at one moment. And you're like, oh wow, okay, this is kind of what I sound like. But it's a really hard thing to find.
Yeah, it takes time, and some people never find it. So it's a blessing when you do.
Yeah. With that show and being discovered, were you pursuing music like full like at that point you knew that's what you wanted to do?
Yeah, I think that was kind of like I just started at UTD, so I was in college, or I don't even know what you call those, local college
Like
or
community college?
yeah, something like that. It was like
Uh-huh.
University of Texas at Dallas.
Okay.
I knew that it wasn't really for me. I knew what I wanted to do, and I wanted to play music. And obviously, the only counteract to that is your parents, who are like, "That's not how life works. You don't just say I'm gonna do music." And I'm like, "That's how I see it going, so that's what I'm gonna do." And I kind of had that mindset, and they, they were great parents and everything, but they never were really that like, pursue your dreams. Like if your passion is music, go for it with all your. It was no, you go to college, you get a degree, and you get a real
Yeah.
job. And I'm over here like, no, I'm gonna be a singer, and then like that, the chances of that actually happening are slim to none, whatever. But luckily, like, one of the beautiful things about being, young and naive was that if you in your head tell yourself that you're going to do it, you're not allowing those other thoughts to even affect you at all. And that was just kind of how I was, and just kept at it.
Yeah. Well, I know I come from a similar background too with my family. Is like they still don't know what the hell I do. Even when I was on the
Oh,
radio,
same.
they're like, this is like a cool like hobby. So like when are you gonna get a job? I'm like,
Oh,
what?
same. Yeah, I remember, I forget exactly where I was, but I remember at one point, yeah, my dad being, and I was just played like, the week before I just played like Madison Square Garden. And like, the next day my dad's like, when are you going to go back to Texas and get a real job? And I'm like, I understand that, their reality of it is so different than, my reality of, I'm like, I just played Madison Square Garden,
Right.
next week, we're doing, Wango Tango at Angel Stadium, all these like crazy things that's going on. And they're still like, but when are you going to get a real job? And I'm like, well, it's pretty real,
Yeah, you're like
but,
at that
like
point,
all
did you
parents.
probably had what like your like TRL videos and all that stuff? And were you on like a TV at
Oh,
that
yeah,
point?
all
Yeah.
that, everything. I had my own TV show on MTV after
Uh,
TRL every day. And, they obviously, only see the like, yeah, but that's not a real, business,
right, right,
industry,
right.
because their mindset was you go to college, you get a job, you get a degree, and I didn't do any of that. And I was like, for me, college was a place to find out who you are, what you want to be, and I had already known, what I wanted to do, and was trying to cut a step of like, I don't need this to show me what I want to do. I know what I want to do, and I'm better off being in LA and being in front of people that could potentially, you know, discover me, or
Change your
maybe get
life,
a
really.
deal. And yeah.
Well, I mean, going and moving to LA, that must have been a pretty terrifying. Were you like nervous, scared out, like, oh my gosh, I'm making this move
No,
to
I
Los
was
Angeles?
stoked.
Oh, you're just stoked?
Yeah,
Okay.
overnight, I'm like, my neighbor is Ashley Simpson. She's in the room next to me. I'm living with the Simpson family, and it would just going out to like these events and stuff. And I had never seen like famous person before, and we're going to these like after MTV Awards show parties, and I'm like, oh my god, there's blah blah, blah and there's blah, blah, blah. Like Timberlake and Britney are like dancing on the floor right there, and I'm just this kid from Flower Mound, Texas, like my mind blown. I didn't even have honestly the time to even be nervous about it, because it just happened so quick that I'm like, this is awesome.
Yeah. Well, even going into like the like writing the for or writing Take It All Away, was that like overwhelming at all, or it was the same thing? Like, oh, I'm just like living in the moment. Like, this is awesome.
I was just happy to be there.
Hmm.
I was so just like, you know, small town kid in like this big city with all this crazy stuff happening. And it wasn't like a quick thing, because I went and sang for all the record labels. I would back in those days, you would you go into an office, and there'd be, you know, the president of a record label sitting behind a desk, and they literally would just go, all right, impress me. And you'd be like, huh? I'm like, huh? I'm like, how am I supposed to impress you? Like, it's supposed to be like, you know, put on like just a
Do a
speech. I
dance
don't
or
know.
something.
Like, they didn't tell you what to do because they, you know, they're like, they're looking for a star. They're looking for somebody where, like, you know, what sets you apart from the other 30 dudes that, you
Hmm.
know, are out right now. And what was going on with me at the time, because this is like 2002, and there wasn't really any like solo, you know, singer songwriter, you know, guys that write their music, just play the acoustic guitar. Younger, you know, I was like 21 years old. That wasn't really a thing yet. You know, at that time it was still bands, and you
Hmm.
know, there wasn't like boy bands were kind of, you know, already, you know, kind of,
Pop was a
you know,
big thing. Yeah.
just like pop rock, you know, like I remember like it was like Maroon 5, like on their first album, and stuff like that. So they were like, okay, where are the songs? I'm like, well, I'm gonna write them, you know, because at that point I was singing songs that I had one song called Blindside that I didn't even have lyrics for, and I'm singing that in these record labels' office. And luckily, so I got turned down by every label. They all said the same thing. They're like, okay, we love your style, like we love your, you know, your look, we love the idea of you, but we don't hear any hits,
Hmm.
so no. I'm like, all right, well, that was tough because I'm like, okay, you just said you love my voice, you know, you love my look, you love everything, but I'm like, should like, I thought like you just sign a record deal and then you write an album and whatever. Like
Right.
they're no, they want to hear the hits and then sign you. So I was like, you know, bummed for like a year, of just getting told no all the time. And Joe Simpson was just like, you got to just keep writing, whatever. And so eventually I sang for this one guy at EMI Records or Publishing. And
Hmm.
he goes, here's the deals. I know you need money to live. I'm going to give you some money, and that'll last you like a couple of years. And you just go write, just write every single day. And that's what I did. So he gave me money to live on. And I just wrote, signed a deal with him. And then eventually wrote On the Way Down. And then I remember, you know, getting a call and be like, hey, so Atlantic Records wants to sign you. I'm like, isn't that those cats that's, you know, told me no? Like I remember them specifically. I remember that meeting and they're like, no. I'm like, dang. They're like, yeah, well, they love you now. I'm like, sweet.
Like
So
you gave them that hit that they're like, all right, it's all the
yeah.
package is here
And I
now.
now I understand how the business works. Now I get it. At that time, I didn't understand why. I'm like, wait, you know, because I felt hurt that they told me no. I'm like, why am I signing with these people that obviously they don't like me? And Joe had to give me that. It's like, no, it's nothing to do with that. You know, it's they want to hear hits. And then at that point, then they linked me up with Johnny Resnick, and then he signed on to produce the album. So then all of a sudden, all these people that, you know, were the no people are like, oh, you know, we always loved you. We loved you the whole time. I'm like, yeah, it's
Of course.
God for Evan Lindbergh at EMI because he saw the potential and said, I'll sign you without because I know you're going to write the hits, and
Mhm.
that he believed in me. And luckily, you know, thank God it worked out, because you
Did
know you don't know, I could have never written any hits and then whatever.
yeah, did he kind of
He took a chance
stick
on me, and it worked out, and then we ended up signing the deal. And so I think it was once I wrote True was when we got Johnny Resnick on board, because then he was like, okay, now we got two hits, like I'll produce the record. And so then that was when it was like, all right, this is gonna be dope.
yeah, and then it just exploded, right? I mean, that
Yeah,
album did
it
so
was it was a
well.
tough record to get through too, because me and Resnick had a lot of times where we didn't see eye to eye, because I was very, very young and naive and thought I knew, like, you know, I had, you know, many years to think about how I wanted my first album to be. And, you know, he was trying to bring, you know, his professionalism and his knowledge. But when you're young and dumb, you think you know everything. So we had to battle to even finish the record. I remember having to have Evan come like counsel us, sit us down, almost like a married couple, and be like, talk us through these, you know, nights to be able to finish the record, which we think that you can kind of hear the tension of me and him, you know, in the way like we saw the record going in the music. So it worked out for the best.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, because I mean, he would have been the probably one of the best people to have produced just from your sound and everything, and his songwriting kind of has that
Absolutely.
acousticy thing
Yeah, because
going
I
on.
looked up
Yeah,
to his songwriting. So I at the end of the day, I had to trust him. But then, you know, at the end of the day, he had to learn to kind of trust me as well, you know,
yeah.
in what I, you know, wanted to do. But then his, experience. He's been in the business, had 20 hits. So I had to kind of like get over my, young person ego and be like, okay, something. And so I think we both, learned a lot from each other, making that album.
Yeah. And I know that you write for other people. I don't know how much you do that, but you did write obviously with the Avril Lavigne's record and like working with other artists. You see that as well, like people kind of giving you pushback, and you're like, oh, I remember when I was this guy.
Oh, of course. Yeah, yeah. Especially with like the newer artists.
Yeah.
With Gab, it was that one was easy just because we know each other for so well, and we both respect each other. So if she had an idea that I was like, I don't know, I'd be like, you know what, maybe you've had a hit or two or 10,000, so maybe I'll trust you. And then there was moments where it would stepped her outside of her box to where she had to be like, okay, yeah, I normally wouldn't do it, but you know what? And then at the end, we're like, that is dope, and that's the kind of the beauty of working together as co-writers, is learning from each other and learning to trust each other. If you don't have the trust, then your song's going to be crap.
Yeah. And you got,
But I
I
think
mean,
it's fun to write other people because you could say things that you normally wouldn't say in your own music, and almost like become a character, or like an act,
oh,
not because it's real, but be somebody that's not you for a second because it's not your record.
right. And you can kind of probably jump off of what the idea that someone else has, like, oh, I've been going through this, and you're like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
well, I can kind of add to that
Yeah,
story.
yeah, yeah. Yep.
Um, After you put out The Moon Underwater, and it was a handful of years before you did that EP. Was that just working on stuff? Like was there in that
Well,
interim?
that was
Was it?
the which one, the Moon Underwater record?
Yeah, like right after that one,
Oh,
because you
after
did Moon
that?
Underwater. Well, I'm just saying, yeah, Moon
Well,
Underwater, and then it was like, yeah. Sorry, go ahead. You explain it.
yeah.
I don't know.
Well, it was fine because so after, I remember when I wrote the third record, the Moon Underwater record, I was still with Atlantic Records, but when I turned in the album, it was kind of a different look, different sound, and that was when I was anti everything. I was like kind of over, being the spiky haired kid that people. That was the first thing that came to mind. Be like, oh, the guy with the hair. And when
Well,
you're,
you had the best hair
you're.
in the biz.
Oh, now I'll take it all day. You learn to embrace it. But at the time, like, dude, I'm gonna do the exact opposite. The record label told me I needed to shave my head. And I'm like, wait, what? It was literally like one of those stories that you hear where they try to tell you what to wear, what to do now, like your next
Mhm.
step. And that was the exact opposite of just who I was or am as a person. So I was like, no, I'm not going to shave my head just because you told me to. I was like, if I'm going to shave my head, it's because I want to shave my head. So I kind of did the exact opposite. I'm like, oh, I'll show them kind of thing. And I grew my hair out long, grew a mustache and a beard, and then wrote this really dark kind of indie record. And then I turned it in and they were like, well, this is a hit record for somebody else. And I'm like, wait, what does that mean? I was like, but I wrote it. I'm like, well, yeah, this doesn't sound like Ryan Cabrera. I'm like, well, that's kind of the point, is like I wanted to do something a little different. And I get where they're coming from, but they're like, yeah, this, unless you're gonna, we want you to write another True, we want you to
Oh
write
yeah.
another On the Way Down. And I'm like, I've already done that. And it was kind of that period, and you hear that a lot from artists, but it was really happened.
Mhm.
And I just kind of refused to do that. So we parted ways, to say. I got dropped from Atlantic because I was like, I love this record. And, for me at the time, I was like, I was willing to get dropped to just put out that piece of art because I loved that record and I knew it would probably help a lot of people.
Mhm.
Because it was a darker record for what I would normally put out, because I'd put out a lot of, very upbeat, pop, happy songs
Yeah, yeah,
that
yeah.
was just kind of a different angle of looking at things, and I really want to put out. So I did it on my own, put it out on my own label, and then at that point you're kind of like, all right, well, that was tough because you realize how much money it really takes to actually have a chance, because this is 2008's before you could put something out on the internet and just let it
Yeah, or
hopefully get found by lots of people in order to be successful. That wasn't happening at that time period. That
mhm.
time period, you needed millions and millions of dollars to pump into it, because nobody's playing you on the radio unless you got enough money, or a big machine behind you. So in order to get the next thing out, it was really about finding the right, who's gonna believe in this enough to put out new music, and then eventually found, that company Dynamite at the time, who loved it. And so I got to put that out. And then now it was just kind of waiting to, one, find the right team, and then two, just write the right music. And when it was time, I kind of learned, luckily, like, me and a couple other people are very, very, very fortunate that we'd still be able to tour the entire time. So even though you're not like on the mainstream, charts, or like being seen, out and whatnot, we're still touring the whole time. So we're very lucky to be able to do that, and just have such a great, touring fan base, that we're still able to be out there and doing that. So when people be like, "Oh, where have you been, man? Like, it's been however long." I'm like, well, we've been on the road. We're still playing concerts, still having fun ass shows, still playing music. Just because it's not, in the mainstream eye, doesn't mean we're not doing it. So now it was okay. We can wait. Like, I don't have to just put out stuff every year, and we're never going to put out stuff to just try to be relevant, kind of thing. It was really just, I want to put out stuff because it's the right time, and just keep touring nonstop, which is what we've been doing. And then now we found, a good home in Manic Cat, and we're like, all right, let's put out some music. And we know everybody that's involved in this project knows that this is it's not like an overnight thing. Like, it's going to take a lot of time, and grinding out of getting it. We really love the music. I love this record, and the people that have heard it have been really supportive of it. Be like, dude, that's some of your best stuff that you've ever done. I'm like, hell yeah, now it's time to grind and push it, and hopefully get that one like lucky break to where it gets on a commercial where people are like, what is that? And not really, it doesn't even matter like who it is, but like, wait, what is that? Be like, oh, it's Ryan Cabrera. Be like, don't know who that is. Be like, great, I'll be a new artist, to whoever. Like, it doesn't matter how you find it, or whether our first records, our first singles, or you've been here since day one. Like, that's incredible and awesome. But like, it's fun to get to a new audience as well, who may be like, who the hell's that? And at this point, it's been next year will be 20 years since the first record. There's probably people that have kids, they'll be like, yo, this is Ryan Cabrera's new stuff, who you don't know, but this is who I grew up listening to, and can pass it along to their kids. Is what we're seeing at a lot of shows, where they're younger kids who are like 8, 9, 10, 11 out in the audience dancing, who actually know the words. I'm like, how do they know this? And then like, well, like, I play your stuff everywhere.
That's cool. Yeah, it's crazy to think like, I'm around your age as well. So it's like, yeah, 20 years ago you released that record. It's like,
wow,
it's really, really wild. When I worked for the alternative station in San Diego, it was like we'd be playing like a Chili Peppers song, and I'm telling the program director, I'm like, dude, this song is older than your demographic. Like, it's crazy.
30 years old.
Yeah, it's nuts. But I didn't realize, but you don't have The Moon Underwater on Spotify, right? Is it not on
I don't know
there?
what it used to be. So, and I found that out when it was somebody posted that it was like its 10-year birthday or something, or whatever it was. I'm like, and they're like, dude, it's not on Spotify. And I don't know how that works. I don't know if I was like the label thing, because at that point, like, it was my own label.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think it's just on iTunes. So
Okay.
unfortunately, anybody who wants to get would have to pay for it. But I'm not sure why. I don't know how any of that stuff works. I
Yeah,
just
no,
say,
I was
dude,
just interested in yeah, because that's a
why? Yeah, I
cool
don't know why.
record. I remember when that album came out, because the Please Don't Lie, I thought that was such a cool song. I was like, damn, like, this doesn't really sound like the first couple records I had heard.
Right. Yeah, everything on that record was meant to just be its own sound. I wrote most of the record out in London, so it was always raining every day, and it was a vibe. That's what all that
Yeah.
record was meant to be. And dude, it's a shame it's on Spotify. I remember actually hitting up my manager, being like, dude, how do we get that on Spotify? How's that work?
Yeah,
Like,
get
I
it
just want
on
people to
there.
hear
But I
it.
guess if I'd rather make people buy it. No, it's awesome.
I mean, that would be awesome, but I don't even care, to be honest. Like, I just want people to have it.
Yeah,
At
yeah.
some point, you get, obviously, we have to make a living, but when it comes to like your art and stuff that you love, like, you're just like, I just want people to hear it. That's all. That's all I really
Right.
care about.
Yeah. So you have a new album? I mean, the new song, if somebody heard like your first couple of records and then heard Prescription of You, it also same. It's like a totally different,
Not
vibe.
even. Yeah. Well, we go in when we go to the studio because it's, we're not like, have to keep up with demand of, whatever, radio is at that time. We're going into the studio just like we could write anything. Like let's just see what mood we're in at the time. And I remember the producer of that record, just had it. He was just going boom, boom, don't. And I started just doing this weird thing. Originally, I was doing the melody in that falsetto as because when you're writing, like you're not just full out singing. The whole time you're
Mhm.
just trying to figure out what it is. And I'm just like, and I thought I was gonna sing that in full voice. And then they're like, dude, it's kind of cool just in falsetto. Like, what if we rolled with that? And that's something that I remember making my first album. Johnny Resnick did not like when I sang in falsetto. And I don't know if it was because, I remember at the time he thought it was like kind of like sissy. He was like, "Oh, you sound like a sissy." I'm like, "Wait, what?" I was like, "Falsetto's cool," but not many people were, men were like kind of exploring the falsetto. And in
Mhm.
true, the whole point of that song was, waited on the line to hit that falsetto makes it break up a little bit. And so he wanted me to sing that full voice, and I had to fight with him. I'm like, no, what makes is the falsetto. And I think I look back at it now, I'm like, I wonder if it's because not all men have that falsetto part of their
Mhm.
voice. As I was like, I wonder if you just can't do the falsetto, Johnny. If that's why you hated on it.
Right.
So I had to erase that part, that was ingrained in me and be like, dude, no, falsetto is kind of dope. And so Prescription of You, almost the whole song is in falsetto,
Mhm.
um, except for the bridge. But it started out as an accident. I'm like, this is kind of cool. It's like, it's kind of like a princey kind of vibe, and it's different than what we've done. And, when you've done this for, what, like 25 years being in the studio recording, it's like, you want to do stuff different. And you want that kind of like reaction of, wait, that's you? Like, yeah,
Right.
yeah. It was like, because now we're in a different age. Like back in 15 years ago, if you do something different, they're like, huh? I don't like that. Like everything on the record kind of had to be sonically somewhat similar.
Mhm.
Now you can just, it's a singles world. So it's like,
Right.
I don't care. Every song on, we're gonna put out an EP next year, where literally every song sounds totally different. And that's the records like that I love. Like I like when things sound totally different, so I can listen to the whole way through versus like sounding like one song, 12 songs in a row.
Mhm.
So the one good thing, about obviously us as artists, I love albums. So to me, an album is a complete work of art, but now it's more of a singles world. But the one good thing about that is you could do 6 different singles, put them on one EP. A single being, a relative term, what is a single essentially,
Right.
uh,
An
but
isolated
we could,
song. If you wanted, yeah, just put out a
sure,
song
yeah,
and then
that
another
stands
song
on
or
its own as,
yeah.
but and that's kind of what the EP is going to be. Is I think it's going to be 6 songs to where you're like, that's you, like, yeah, but
That's
a song for every mood, kind of thing. And it
yeah.
still
Do you
has, like we still have like some of the acoustic, kind of old school throwback, just an acoustic guitar vocal, not really about this crazy production. Whereas Prescription of You is the production is kind of what makes the song, but then also we've been doing an acoustic lately, and me and my drummer are like, dude, this is kind of dope acoustic too, which every good song should be able to be acoustic and hold up.
yeah.
uh, yeah, that's kind of where we're at with the new stuff, and hoping to surprise people, and then hopefully to make the old school kind of people that have been with us from day one still, it's still me writing the music. So I kind of have a certain way that I like to write, so it still has the old school flair, but with just a new school mentality and update.
That's awesome. And do you have all the songs ready to roll? Are you still working on it?
Oh no, I'm done. i've
Done.
been i've been, I've been writing for like 4 or 5 years, so
And are you
now.
someone that writes like all the time? Like, are you constantly working on stuff, or is it like, okay,
No, I'm
I have a
I'm I'm not like a serial writer. I just can't do it. I mean, I
mm,
respect people that do that, but I just, for me, like it's just when it comes, it comes, and I don't like to force it. And what's nice is like not having to. I
mhm.
feel like I come up with better stuff when I'm inspired, and um it's just, it's when I'm not trying. When I
Right.
try, like it doesn't work.
Mm-hmm. With the baby on the way, is that going to change your touring and your like how is that going to be a
Well, for the beginning, for
family
sure.
band? Yeah.
In the beginning, but luckily right now, like with the way that we tour, we really do more like 4 shows in a row, and then we pop back. So our tours are also very family oriented. Most of the guys in the band have kids, so once she's old enough, she'll come out on the road with us.
Yeah, yeah.
But at the beginning, like luckily we do more like spot dates, so it's not like, all right, I'm gonna go out for 3 months and then I'll be back. So because that would drive me crazy. So we're fortunate to pop out, every once in a while and be like, all right, I'm gone for like a day or two, but um, until at least summertime, and then we pack on more dates.
Yeah, that's exciting. That's awesome,
But
man.
I'm
Well,
excited to bring her on the road. She's gonna
as
grow up on the road one way or another because my wife's always on the road and I'm on the road, and we have a lot of kids on the tours with us, and it's great. I think getting them out there quick because then they just become used to, they're not like shy for being around people. Like they're used to it. They love music, and they're so little social cats. They like to be on stage.
yeah, no, I love that. I have a 7-year-old younger son and an older one, but like I always was when I'd see bands and like they have their kids out and about, I always thought that was so rad. I'm like,
Yeah,
God,
I
I
know. I
wish
was
I
like,
was able to
I
do
can't
that.
wait to do that one day. I want to bring the
Yeah.
kid on the road. We already have our pink headphones ready. They're gonna be
Oh,
rhinestone.
nice.
Yeah,
That's so cool, man. Well, I appreciate your time, Ryan. Thank you so much for doing this. Um,
absolutely.
next year you'll get to do some trick or treating with your daughter.
I know. Oh, we're getting geared up to do that. We're setting up a tailgate in our driveway. So I'm gonna have a grill out. We're gonna be cooking hot dogs for everybody in the neighborhood and handing out candy
That's
at the edge of
awesome.
the driveway. I like and playing some music.
You dressing up
But
or no?
turn this neighborhood up.
You gonna dress up or no?
Oh yeah, of course.
Oh, what's your
Yeah,
costume?
yeah. Well, tonight I have so I wanted my dog to rollerblade me around the neighborhood, so I got the Ken outfit so that way I can have the
Oh, that's funny.
rollerblades on.
Yeah.
So our bulldog, I just give him a leash and then he'll just rollerblade me around the neighborhood. So I'll be Ken
That-
tonight. Originally, the other night I threw a karaoke party at Planet Hollywood, and my wife was she was like the housewife and I was the milkman.
okay, that's awesome.
A little bit naughty. The milkman did something naughty.
Well, that's cool, man. Enjoy the trick or treating and all that, and I appreciate your time. I have one more question for you, Ryan, before I let you go. I
Of
want to
course.
know if you have any advice for aspiring artists.
I said my biggest piece of advice is to stop like worrying so much about the future and just enjoy the moment while you have it, because it goes by so fast, and I know a lot of people say that, but it really does. And a lot of people, like, sometimes when they get nervous, I'm like, nerves are a good thing. You're there that moment, so like just take a moment to actually enjoy what the process, because I kind of forgot to at the time, like when I was like going the first album and all that. I was so worried about, is it going to do well, when do I get a tour bus, when am I going to do this, when is this happen, and I'm like, I didn't have the mindset at that time to be like, here I am now. Whether that happens or not is out of my control. What I do have in control is today, this moment, what I'm doing right now. And you know what, like, whether it works out or not, enjoy this. And that's kind of like the biggest takeaway that I've gotten after all these years of doing stuff is every single concert I play, I got to remind myself, like, this could be the last concert I ever play. So treat it that way, and enjoy that moment. Like when I'm writing a song, like, this could be the last song I ever write, whatever. You never know. So enjoy that moment while you have it, and make the most of it. And whatever, negative attitude, if you're going into it that way, it's going to turn out that way. So try to turn that negative into a positive. Really just life lessons. Bringing it back.